Hi, Fems. Happy Monday. I am Violette de Ayala. I'm the founder of FemCity, and you're joining us for our Monday Motivation. It's a panel conversation, always about business trends or personal development, ways that we can work together and help each other out. Today, I've asked these beautiful women from our FemCity Global program to join me, and the conversation is all about business and purpose. How can we bridge the two together? You'll hear my dog literally just starting to scratch at the door. So sorry about that. We have to get up to open the door for him eventually. But if you are joining us live, feel free to join us in the conversation, add comments, ask questions. You can also just send us some love. And if you're watching this in the library or on the replay weeks from now, don't ever feel like you missed the conversation. You can always reach out to any of us here. We collectively are here for you. We want your success and we want you to do really great things in this life. So let's go ahead and get started. Erin is one of our newest FemCity Global members. Her energy is always amazing. And this is her first time joining us as a panelist. Erin, share a little bit about yourself and also that combination of business and purpose. I think you do that so well. Actually, all three of you do, which is why I asked you to be on this. What does that look like, or how can we combine the two? But share a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
Sure. I am a confidence coach for teen and tween girls, and I just have the pleasure of getting to hang out with the most amazing individuals because I think teen and tween girls are awesome. I went to school to be an educator, and that is the background behind my purpose. You know, I went to college actually to be an accountant, and I quickly learned in my accounting and financing classes that that was not my purpose. And pivoted to education, which my parents were like, oh yeah, duh. And I was like, well, you could have told me. So having that passion for just mentoring and teaching the next generation has always been a part of me. And so that's what has wormed its way into my entrepreneurial endeavors as well. So I feel like I get to make that pretty naturally. Yeah.
I love that. And what a great, I love that you also went back a little bit and said, you know, my major, I had planned on doing this, but then I pivoted, because we see that a lot and we think there's wrong with us, but the reality, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just connecting to your purpose. And some people, that is their purpose. I know a lot of very passionate CPAs. My CPA is amazingly passionate at that.
And thank God for them, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because that is not all of our superhero talents. And so I love that you shared that, because I think I see women going through that in their early 20s. I see it also in the mid 40s. And by the way, I see it also over 60. Those generally are the trends of women that are in our organization in FemCity that shift and pivot into like, oh, you know what? This is really my purpose. Janet, let's hear a little bit about yourself and also how can we connect the two together, business and purpose?
So I'm Janet. I'm a soulpreneur coach, energy alchemist, and journal author. And so I come from things as an energy healer, more from the spiritual side. And I believe that all of our purposes, everybody's purpose, is truly just to be. Like, we are here to remember how to reconnect with our divinity and to just be ourselves. So when you're in business, doing anything where you can be your true self, where you feel like yourself, is what you should be doing. And like you said, whether that's accounting or teaching or coaching or, you know, anything, you know, being a custodian, any endeavor that you undertake should allow you to be your truest self. And it doesn't matter.
And I think and it doesn't matter what it looks like. Yeah. And somebody else's could be completely different than yours. And they're both very valuable in this world. You know, really the reason why we're having this conversation is that when we are purposeful in the work that we do, we light up brighter. We shine at a higher frequency. And so it's really important to always have that connection when it comes to purpose in business. I know many examples in my own life when I thought I was doing something, like real estate as an example. I was like forever ago, like decades ago, I was in real estate and I loved it. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't my purpose. Like I know a lot of my friends that are realtors, they are really purposeful about, they're like, they feel so much joy in finding the perfect home for people. And I just never felt like that. So I remember feeling like that, and it would show up in everything I did because I just wasn't feeling that connection. But once you find that connection between purpose and business, I think you can exponentially grow. You can up level a lot easier. The blocks don't seem to occur as often. So that's why it's important to have that conversation and to maintain that connectivity. We'll talk about a little bit too later on in this segment. We'll go ahead and talk about action steps that you can take if you do have that kind of hesitation between like how to find that place. Regena, let's hear a little bit about yourself and also how that connection shows up, or what you feel that connection should be.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Regena Rosa-Celeste, and I'm an internal peace vision coach. And I love this conversation because to me, it's a mic drop, is doing what you love. It's like the ultimate gift. You know, you wake up every morning knowing exactly what your purpose is, and you don't necessarily know who you're going to talk to or what the day is going to look like, but you're really clear that you know what you're about and what your goal is and your intention. And so for me, it's like both, you know, Erin and Janet said, and what you said, Violet, it's knowing your purpose. You know, it's being in alignment with who you are and yourself. And it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like you're hanging out. And it's such a blessing. And I wish more people would allow themselves that gift. And that's really my goal, is to help people find their purpose and find their inner peace so that they can be passionate and peaceful at the same time. Like, life isn't supposed to be painful and stressful. That's really, I'm learning it's a choice. And we get to choose if we want to be happy or not every day.
Absolutely. And finding that purpose, we've actually covered this topic a couple of times at FemCity. So if you're wondering, like, how do you find that purpose is generally hovering in that space of what your superhero talent is, the skills that you've also obtained, and how you want to show up in the world as it connects to the benefit of others. So how do you want to help others, whether it's through, as Janet mentioned earlier, you know, coaching, perhaps that's where you find that connection to others, humanity, making a difference, this big social positive impact, or like Erin's work as well. So if you're wondering what that purpose would be, I would start with your superhero talent, kind of the skills, review the skills that you've acquired, whether it's schooling or certifications or just basic knowledge that you've been studying for so many years. And then how does it play? How does it connect to help other people? Because at the end of the day, we're in business for ourselves because we want to help other people. There's that connection when it comes to that spirituality, that soulful part of business. So if you're kind of even stuck in that section, I definitely review that so that you can step into that place. And maybe it's just tweaking. Maybe you're doing something that's really, really great, and you just have to tweak it so it has a little bit more of that purpose in there, so it lifts up your spirit, and again, you shine brighter. So we're going to talk about, I was going to ask our panelists right now, and again, if you're watching, you want to ask any questions, feel free to. We're here for you. But we hear so many femmes that lose that connection. So sometimes you start a business and you're very purposeful and you're very intentional and you're so connected to the work, but then maybe the day-to-day operations is tiresome, or maybe the admin work that, you know, is not your superhero talent is kind of getting in that day-to-day, and then you start losing that connection, and maybe you start disliking your business, or you just start like disliking the work that you're doing, and you start feeling that loss of connection, which has happened to me many times. Let's go ahead and share some advice to those that are in that place, because I think that's also very common. So, Erin, what advice would you give to someone who's losing that connection when they're trying to bring that business and purpose so they're in alignment, but they just can't seem to make that connection anymore? What advice would you give them?
The thing that I did when I quit my job officially in the field of education was I started a blog. And I just started writing about things that mattered to me, because that helped me to get the ideas and the thoughts and the passions out of my head so I could start to direct, what is it? Because there's a process of discernment, right? And I was like, how do I do this? And I could talk till I was blue in the face to all my friends, but the reality of like really sitting down on a regular basis and saying, I'm going to write about things that matter to me. What is the thing that's most important to me today or this week, or, you know, every 3 times a week, really helped me to see like, wow, these are the themes that keep coming up for me. Those are connected to my purpose. And then after I had kind of started that, there was the second piece of advice that I have is, when you feel like you've lost it, give yourself permission to quit. I had had a very busy season and I felt just drained and awful. And I told my husband, I'm like, what if I don't keep going? What if I just decide that I'm not going to do any programs for, 6 months? What if I don't? And he's like, I don't know. What if you don't? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to sit with that for a while. So I sat with it for a week and I'm like, oh, I could never not do this. I have to do this. I have to find ways to make it work for me. But giving myself that permission to be like, no one's forcing me to do this. I don't have to do this. This is within me. This is my passion. I can't not do it. And when I was able to give myself permission that I didn't have to do it, I knew that I had to do it, if that makes any sense. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm laughing because I remember when I was going from corporate into being an entrepreneur, I remember thinking to myself, that's it. I'm just going to, like you said, I'm just going to quit and I'm just not going to do it. And I would tell other friends of mine also. And then literally within 10 minutes, I would have created another business. I was like, what's a really good idea? Like I couldn't even sit long enough on the idea of just like submitting my resume or just like tweaking my LinkedIn. Just, like I literally could not, because business always was such a driving force for myself. But your story resonates so much with mine because I was like 10 minutes later, I was like, I can't do that. I love what I do. I love being in. So anyway, I love that you shared that. Janet, what would be your advice for femmes that are losing that connection?
I think we all
open the door to get him.
Where we're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to quit. And then we're like, I can't quit because I love what I do too much. I think it's just sort of a phase that we all go through. But one of my favorite tools is a why board. So we're all familiar with vision boards, or most of us are, where we put, pictures and words to represent what we want to create out of our lives, what we want to manifest. And a why board is kind of the same thing, except so you put pictures and words, whatever you want, but it's more about the feeling of why you're in business. How do you want to feel? How do you want to go forth in your business and in the world? So pictures that evoke those feelings in you and words that you resonate with that represent your why. And just, keep that handy somewhere so that when you have those moments of doubt, you can look at it and it's a really good way of tuning in to your why and remembering why you're doing this rather than just remembering with just, your head. So it's good to have something visual sometimes too.
Beautiful. And some love came through from a couple of femmes. Great to hear all your perspectives on purpose. And then Luisa Fernandez says, I love this. When we stop shooting on ourselves is when we open ourselves to our purpose. And I love the work that you both mentioned, writing, and then also that visual why board, because that's what it comes down to, is just that reconnection to why are you doing this? And you then re-fall in love with your business and the work that you're doing. Regena, what is your advice for those femmes that are struggling to stay connected?
My advice is going to sound very odd, but every time I do it, it always works. And so my advice is, when you feel like you've lost connection, go take a nap. Literally, like unplug, disconnect, and do something totally unrelated to the problem. So if you're, having an internet or computer issue, you're working on your website and you're stuck, or you're working on a proposal and you can't get the words out, or you're practicing a presentation, whatever it is, just pause and either go take a nap or go for a walk or call a girlfriend, or better yet, call a femme and just chat. And that's one of the things that I find is so helpful when I am stuck or clients are stuck, just pausing and then doing something that's fun. And we have such an amazing community here at FemCity. So utilize it, lean on your sisters. That's what we're here for.
Love that. Beautiful nap. You know what? There's so much, I love how you set that up because it was so unexpected, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes you want to get really overwhelmed and things are like not falling into place. It's the best thing to do is just like step away. And I think, Erin, going back to like that quitting, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to, quit for the moment, quit for the day, quit for a couple hours. And it always is better when you come back. It's always better when you come back. Love that. I will add also, I know sometimes when I or I'm getting back on track with my purpose, delegating. So when you get to that point where you can delegate, I know there's so many that hesitate to delegate, but if you can start delegating, and that way it gives you more time to spend in that sweet spot that brings you joy when it comes to your business. So delegating is definitely something that I've had to take on over the last few decades, so that I can stay in the place that really brings me joy and purpose. And then there's some more love from Louisa. She says, hell yes to fun and to naps as well. All right, so we're starting to wrap up. Final advice, Erin, final advice that you have for femmes when it comes to business and purpose.
Absolutely. I end all of my videos for my girls this way because I think this is the mantra that I always want to remember. Choose your thoughts today so you can create a life you love, because you are changing the world. What you're doing when you're living in your purpose is changing the world. And so we have to remember those first two steps. So that's always my advice. Choose your thoughts, create your life, go out and change the world.
Oh, I got chills literally all over hearing you share that, Erin. And I'm so glad that you're bringing that to young girls. Can you imagine if we were that age and someone had told us that? I mean, I think I was in my mid 30s before I realized there's a connection between like I could design my life. I was definitely not a teenager or a tween. That's very valuable. Let's go to Jan. Oh, you know what? And well, we can wrap up. I'll ask the next question later. Let's go to Janet. Janet, share your final tip.
Yeah, my final tip is just to take time every day to spend time with yourself, to really tune in to who you are and how you're feeling. And so that, going back to what everybody is saying, we're all kind of on the same page, that we create everything in our lives. But if we get too busy or we get too distracted, then we're not tuned into ourselves and that divinity, like I said at the beginning, and our being. And we really need to feel that and be connected to that in order to live our purpose.
Beautiful. When you said that, it reminded me of like about 9 years ago. Many of you guys know I was like overwhelmed, and I was starting to have anxiety and lots of health issues because I was overworked. And having that, going back to what Erin said as well, like designing your life, that took me forever. So I one day I was like, I'm in business for myself, so I could have my own schedule. Like I'm not in business for somebody else where I don't have the luxury of like taking an hour for lunch but I was in this kind of crazy mentality. Like I had to work until I collapsed. And it wasn't until I realized like I'm in business for myself, so I could do the things that I love to do, and I can dictate my schedule. So if I want to do Pilates every day at 9 a.m. and then work a little extra that evening, it's okay. But it took me a while to figure that piece out, which made it so that I could actually stay connected to that purposeful side of business. Thanks so much for sharing that, Janet. And let's go to Regena. Regena, final tips.
Well, I want to thank Louisa for what she said, because she said it, and it's about this shoulding on ourselves. It's reminding ourselves we don't should do anything, right? We should do anything. Like my reminder to myself consistently is what makes me feel good, and how can I feel better and feel good in the world. And by feeling good, I'm making a difference in the world, because I'm a happy person. I'm a happy colleague, a happy business owner, client, fill in the blank, whatever, parent, sister, mother, anything, right? So it's really, I think the obligation is to ourselves, is to, like Jenna said, get to know ourselves and be a happy person and do what makes you happy, even if it's just one task a day that gets you closer to your goal.
Beautiful. I love that. The choice is all yours. Thank you so much. All right. So Erin, how can femmes find you to learn more about the work you're doing in this world?
On Instagram, I am b.the.benchmark. Instagram. Find me there.
Awesome. Janet, how can femmes find you to learn more about the work you're doing in this world?
Also, Instagram is probably the best place. So it's Janet Sandberg .soulpreneur, SOULpreneur.
Love it. And Regena, how can femmes find you to learn more about the work you're doing in this world?
It sounds like we're doing Instagram today. So on IG, I'm at the Internal Peace Revolutionist.
I love that. Yeah. You know what? I'm actually spending a lot more time on Instagram these days. I have to say, it used to be Facebook, but I'm spending a lot more time on Instagram. So you can follow FemCity over on Instagram too. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know how these tips helped you. We've got some love that came through. Thank you so much. And you can reach out to any of these beautiful women if you want to continue that conversation, and myself as well. We're here for you. We'll be back on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time for our Wednesday series. And if you never checked out FemCity, head over to femcity.com. We have our summer sale going on right now. It's the best time to try out FemCity for only $9.09. And we wish you guys a great week. Thanks so much.